Yo, what's good, folkers? This is part 3. The Officer Tatum, why he doesn't really speak to the black community. Let me keep playing this video. Oh, I was going to say, the way he's describing, the way he's talking, it's like he learned about how the black community is watching Boys in the Hood or the Menace to Society. It's kind of crazy. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's crazy.
King stood for. No, they had no problem interpreting what Frederick Douglass stood for. Have no problems interpreting people who were prominent figures in our society, Malcolm X and all these other people who they didn't sound hood.
Now he wants to invoke Malcolm X, right? Malcolm X was anti-establishment. Malcolm X was about putting black people first. Malcolm X was about getting into the trenches in the black community, helping people get detoxed. You know what I'm saying? He had a building where he used to help drug addicts detox and get them off drugs. You understand what I'm saying? While he was going up against, not necessarily going up against, but trying to keep drugs out of his community, he understood that it was a tough fight. So he was helping people get off drugs. He was in the trenches recruiting people off the streets that were part of gangs or whatever the case may be. Not gangs like as they are now, but criminal factions, and getting them to join the Nation of Islam, which was a better path to a degree. You know what I'm saying? But that's a whole the whole Nation of Islam thing. That's going to be a video for another day. But the point of the matter, the fact of the matter is, he was in the trenches. Malcolm X don't talk about the black community like you talk the black community about the black community. He spoke highly of the black community while also stating that we were, having issues. He understood that there was issues within the black community that were caused by people within the black community. But he also understood the outside forces that influenced the conditions of the black community. So you invoking Malcolm X like you ain't got nothing on him. Like, don't act like you sit up here treating the black community like Malcolm X did. No, not even close. Not even close. You understand what I'm saying? There's no comparison. Study Malcolm X. Malcolm X was in the streets. He was a street dude, as a matter of fact. Went to prison, was a street dude, got out, turned his life around in prison, and started speaking to the black community directly and trying to encourage the black community to do better. You're not doing that. You're not doing that. You understand what I'm saying? You're doing something else. You're saying, it's your fault. If this, that, and the third happened, it's your fault. Blah, blah, blah. And in some degrees, it might be. But what other alternatives are you presenting? Or become a Republican? You know what I'm saying? Obey the police. Obey the government. Like, the government don't do nothing wrong. Ain't no such thing as systematic. You're lying. These are lies. Lies. You understand what I'm saying? Anybody could debate me on it. We can get it cracking. I had somebody try to debate me on it. Tried to tell me that there was no such thing as white privilege. I explained why there was, and he was still in denial. But at some point, he had to come to that understanding. This was a white man, by the way, a white man I truly respect. You guys might know him, but I'm not gonna mention his name. But we had a discussion. You understand what I'm saying? I was able to help bring him to an understanding to a degree, but he'll never have that full understanding because he's white. And he grew up in the Midwest and he was never exposed to it directly. So he doesn't really have that understanding. He told me that from his perspective, this is what it is. But I was able to tell him about instances where I experienced racism and this, that, and the third. And, he was like, damn. So it's just about that. Understand where your place is in this conversation before you speak too much on it. You can believe that there's no such thing as systematic racism and all that other stuff, but that's just based on your own understanding. If you try to look beyond that, because I presented evidence, I've done it in a full ass video, about 2.5 hours long, in a live presentation, breaking shit down. Anyway, let's see what else he's talking about.
Malcolm X didn't sound like he was from the hood and all this other stuff. Malcolm X wasn't, with the people and all this stuff, man. Like,
what? Malcolm X wasn't with the people. Yes, he was. What is it? Does this dude know anything about Malcolm X? Pure ignorance spewing from his mouth. He wasn't with the people? Are you kidding me? Malcolm X got out of the hood, and let me tell you something. Malcolm X was dead set on improving his black community so much that he stayed in that community where there were problems. And like I said, he was helping people detox and all this other shit, get them off drugs and help them become part of something better. And his leaders didn't want that. His leaders were like, you're doing too much. Like you're going too far with it. So what? Pure
It's
ignorance.
an excuse.
It's an excuse.
If I tell you 2 + 2 is 4, and you don't want to hear it because I'm not hood enough, or you don't want to hear it because I'm white, or I'm Asian, or I'm a woman, or what, it's your problem. I'm not here to kiss anybody's rear end, and I don't believe kissing somebody's rear end is the subject matter in which people succeed through. Like,
What?
for instance, I don't want to hear people tell me about success.
The way he tries to string shit together, like there's certain words together into a sentence, is kind of crazy. But no one's asking you to kiss anybody's ass. If you're white, Asian, or something like that, and you don't know, what we're probably going to tell you, somebody like me, is that if you start talking that shit like he be talking, and you're white and you're Asian and you have no idea really what's going on within the black community, I'm going to say, okay, you have your perception, but it's very limited. So either you going to be quiet and let me educate you a little bit more on what's going on within the black community, or if you don't want to hear it, then no one's going to listen to you, right? Not where it counts, not within the black. If you really care about improving the black community, then you would sit back, shut up, and get some understanding if you have no understanding. But if you don't have understanding and you don't really want to improve the black community, shut the hell up. Or people, you can say what you want. You know, I believe in free speech. You know what I'm saying? The figure of speech. Shut the hell up, or people like me are going to check you every single time. And you're going to get your feelings hurt. You're going to be the snowflake because you have no understanding. And if you want understanding, shut the fuck up and listen. You can't listen and talk at the same time. You feel me, Billsby?
That ain't doing better than I am. So how can I tell you that there's a better way out, and I ain't in no better position than you are? How am I gonna come to your neighborhood and I live down the street and we all broke, and I'm gonna tell you, you know what, there's a better way out. Let me teach you. They're gonna be looking at you like, bro, you're not even doing well. You're not even successful. So how are you gonna tell me something that you can't even do? And
is he implying that people that tried? Let me tell you, there are plenty of successful people that go back in the hoods and show people how to be successful. Like I told you, Big John, he's a superintendent for a big shop in Southern California, one of the biggest union electrical shops in the country, Marl Meadows. Okay, Big John, he still, even though he's a superintendent, he works 18 hours a day because he works from home and he works on the field, blah, blah, blah. He's still working with this cat named Skip, who started this program. They're both successful, and they're showing people and they're helping other people in the hood be successful. I don't understand this shit. What is he talking about? And these are gang members that I'm talking about. Skip and Big John, they're gang members. They're B-dogs. You understand what I'm saying?
I can go into any hood I want to go into, and I can tell and preach the true message of Christ, the true message of success, hard work, perseverance. I can do all of that stuff, and I don't have to be from Philly. Now, this is the reality that people don't want to talk about, is there is a level of ignorance.
Are you doing that, though? Are you going into these neighborhoods and doing that? Don't sound like you are. Because I could tell you, in a lot of these neighborhoods, they're not going to listen to you. They're not going to address you unless you have a pass. That's what people don't understand. There is a culture within this. You have to have access, and in order to get that access, you have to talk to the shot callers and the OGs that can get you access. You're not just gonna go up in there walking down the street. They're not gonna. If they don't harm you, if they don't attack you, they're not going to listen to you. It's going to go one ear out the other, because they know where you're coming from. You got to have access. You got to get that access in through the right means. You got to go through the right channels. There, you understand what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if you guys remember the beef with 6ix9ine in the LA gangs, right? He was supposed to check in, and he had all kind of problems. It would be the same way. They don't care who you are. Famous, Brandon Tatum, they don't give a hot fuck who you are. If you come out there and you are addressing gang members, and you're putting them on blast on national television and all this other shit, and you're trying to do something with that community, you still have to have access. And you got to get through the access through proper channels. And they're going to want something out of it. If you put any of these cats on camera, they're going to want something out of it. That's just the reality of it. That's why I had to explain to Mighty Mouse. Like, Mighty Mouse he had never had that much access to gangs in California, because last time he came out here last year around this time. And I said, why don't you try to, do that with the gangs out here? Because he was telling me that he knew better than just to get out. Like, say go into one of the projects or into the jungles. He knew better than to get out and start walking around talking to people. He would just drive through and drive out. Like, he said, I knew better than to get out. I wasn't doing that. You can put it in there. He knew better than to get out and just start doing whatever. So guess what? This year he wanted to get access. I got him access. I was able to call somebody who called his OG, who was a shot caller, and he had set up a meeting with the shot caller. And now I was able to get him in contact with my sister, who has access to a shot caller from her gang out here. That's how it was done. He knew better. But you know why? Because Mighty Mouse, even though he's a white dude, listen to me, Mighty Mouse is a white Lebanese cat. But he had a little bit more respect from these gang members because of how he understood the struggle. Right? He's a white dude, grew up in an impoverished neighborhood, hung around a lot of black dudes, went to prison, had a lot of tattoos. He was able to, it's a different language. And even though he's white and Lebanese, I was able to get him access with no problem. But he still had to get access. Even though he understood the struggle, even though he went to prison, even though this, that, and the third, he still had to have access. It's not just like that. There are certain ways and means to go through it. So it's not just, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. Come on. Just like, if you're on drugs, what happens if you're on drugs and it's a big problem, or you're an alcoholic and it's a big problem and they do an intervention? What do? Do they get a psychiatrist to come to the house? Right? Like, as a moderator to help with the intervention? Do they get a judge? Do they get a cop? Do they get a lawyer? No. What they do get is another addict, right? An addict who hasn't used for a long time and went through the same struggle. They have a level of empathy that a sober person could never have. So that's what they do. The best counselors, the best drug counselors are drug addicts. The best gang counselors are former gang members or inactive gang members. That's how it works. If he really tried to speak to the black community in that manner, he would have this understanding. That's just the reality of it. You know who Brandon Tatum should speak to more, and who he can speak to more? Police officers. He was a cop. Now he's a former cop. And if he actually understood anything about, if he believed in police terrorism and police brutality, and let's say he was a whistleblower or a good cop, because good cops don't last long, got fired, boom, 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 right? And started a movement of how to not terrorize the community or something like. He would be good for that. It's also about where you come from in your background and how much understanding you have of the people you're trying to reach. You have very little.
Rooted in some of these minority communities that they are blinded. They've been brainwashed to believe that if you don't look a certain way or act a certain way, that you somehow is not representative of the black community. I have tons of black people that follow me. I have people who are, I like to call them Americans of African descent, who message me every day saying, hey, you woke me up. I'm from the hood. Some people from the hood I grew up in. And they talk and they say, bruh, you speaking facts. You telling the truth. The truth hurts. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of our leaders are not talking like they didn't go to English class. And I have to say, man, I'm not perfect in English. I don't always speak proper English. But I do think the message will resonate with people who want to hear it. When I was growing up, there were white people who were saying stuff that I was like, dang, that's cold. Like, I'm learning from that. My high school football coach was white.
Now, he's talking about how there are some black people from the hood that reached out to him. That might happen sometimes. But it might be people more like him, right? Who grew up in the bad neighborhoods, never really participated in that gang shit, never really had any interest in any change coming from it, just thought that it was just destructive and there was nothing that could come of it. You know what I'm saying? That very few people were going to make it out of it. Those are the type of people I believe are reaching out to him. That's just a speculation. I could be completely wrong. But I doubt former gang members or inactive gang members who want to improve the community are calling him talking about, oh yeah, you speaking facts. Does he speak facts sometimes? Sure. Does he lace it with some bullshit? Absolutely. All the time. That's just the reality of it.
A country white man from Nebraska. He didn't have a hood bone in his body. But he taught us a lot that we could learn from, and he built a program better than any black coach ever at Paul Laurence Dunbar High School. 9 D1 athletes, 4 of us were All-American athletes. You know, he's a lot more, you know, he was a lot more, he resonated with us because he loved us, because he cared. It wasn't because it's slang speech. So I want to just talk about that. The second thing I want to go over, is poverty.
Love. We hear what he said? Love and compassion. Now he's talking about a football coach that resonated with the athletes. Okay. That can happen. That can happen for anybody who wants to be an athlete. Maybe you live in an impoverished neighborhood. You're not really part of a gang. You're involved in extracurricular activity like sports and all the other stuff. I'm going to tell you. I went to Crenshaw High School. All right. I went to Crenshaw High School. A lot of rolling 60 Crips there that went to school there. Very few of them had time to play football. You know what they were doing after school? They wasn't going to football practice. They were going to hang out, smoke weed, and gangbang. So most of the athletes in the football program that were serious about it, most of them weren't gang members. Most of them were in the shits like this. So I'm pretty sure you're talking about like impoverished kids that wanted to improve their life, that weren't involved in gangs, that wanted to move on and do something better. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. But you heard what he said, love, right? Compassion, understanding, empathy. And some tough love. There's nothing wrong with tough love. Let's see what the second thing.
I said that just because you're poor, I mean, you got a pass that you can be an idiot, or you can do things that are unjustifiable. I'm driving. My boy, my best friend, need me today for his son. Right? We're gonna do some. We're gonna give him some man juice. Right? So, but when I'm driving through this neighborhood, and this is in a poor.
Don't say that again.
Poor area. I stopped by, got me a drink out the store. It's in a poor area. You can see people are poor. and then there's something consistent with these poor areas. And I grew up around these poor areas. I grew up in these poor areas. People are the reason why they're poor, not necessarily their circumstances. Just because you poor don't mean you can't pick up the trash in front of your house. Just because you poor don't mean you have to have 6 baby daddies. Just because you poor don't mean that you can be disrespectful to people and walk around looking like a hoodlum.
What is all these fallacies you spewing?